Good afternoon, my friends. This is the Grim Flayer. I hope you're doing very well today, and welcome to the explanatory video for the new style of content I hope to feature a great deal on the channel, Grim Gameplay, also known as GG. So, how can you go wrong? Pick unrelated, right? Background video unrelated. We are just vibing to an old video of mine from over a year ago. Just something for you guys to look at, playing at double speed while we talk here, while I monologue at you as you love. So, I'm going to lay it all out for you concisely in a couple minutes here, right now at the beginning of the video, just so you know exactly what Grim Gameplay is all about. We will also release the first Grim Gameplay video just an hour or so after this one drops, so keep an eye out for that. You can see it firsthand. After you watch this too long didn't read explanation in the first couple minutes, if you want to hang out with me for longer, we'll dive into the whys and the wherefores, talking really a great deal about why I feel the need to propose a pretty significant change to the content that is still thriving and is still doing really well. So thank you for watching. Let's dive right in. What is Grim Gameplay? Well, pretty simple, my friends. Pick a deck, any deck. We're going to feature everything under the sun over the months and years. We will be doing modern pillars like Burn and Tron. We can feature hot new decks like the Tybalt's Trickery combo when Kaldheim drops, or maybe Elves with new Kaldheim tech, or Brews or Fringe decks, or old staples. It is all good, but whatever deck we choose, that will be the focus of a Grim Gameplay video, and we're looking at about an hour to an hour 15 minutes as the goal length per video. Now, the contents will be as follows. A 3-minute deck tech. I like to get wordy. Maybe we'll go over lots of the time, frankly, but I'm going to try to keep it concise but thorough at 3 minutes. So 3-minute deck tech followed by 3 matches. We're going to do 3 live recorded matches sourced from wherever I happen to play them. And then at the end is where the strategy comes in. We are going to spend 5 to 10 minutes dissecting the deck that we just played and talking about how we can beat it with mid-range, where its exploits are, how to disrupt it, how to approach the matchup. That is where we'll really get into the weeds in a good way. So all of that wrapped up with a bow, talking about again an hour to hour 15. And that's Grim Gameplay. And in brief, again, we'll get into all of these reasons and ideas in real detail in the latter half of this video. But just briefly, this is going to allow me to feature a huge variety of decks, which is fun. It's fun, and also grows the channel, expands my audience. Most mid-range players who like to watch YouTube videos of modern gameplay probably already watch my stuff, but maybe we pick up a lot of the other Archetypes players are people who are a little more casual this way. It is quicker. Quicker videos are really good for me. My free time is at a premium right now. I cannot stress that enough. And the shorter videos are going to make maybe, again, the channel grow. Maybe people will be more likely to click them. Not everybody is as loyal as you, my friends, my core viewers. Not everybody has the gumption to click on a 3-hour mid-range gameplay video, so maybe the Grim Gameplay will help hit a different demographic, helping expand my reach, and definitely, as I say, fitting better in my schedule. And this type of content is much lower stress, and I have been very, very stressed out lately with the channel and with work and with family stuff. Lowering the stress is very, very important to enable me to continue doing this long term. For some of you, it might seem strange that playing this game causes me stress, but I don't think I'm alone because I have had so many people Discord, DM me, post even publicly on the Discord lately, and message me on other platforms. So many people are finding Modern really, really stressful right now. I'm not going to lie, I am one of them, and I want this to be fun. We have to make Magic fun again. We have to reconnect with exactly why we wanted to play this game in the first place. And on top of all of that, we are definitely able to still keep the content very competitive in a variety of ways. If I'm not spending time grinding out leagues with every free moment I can dedicate to Magic, but instead I'm able to do a little more freewheeling, shorter, more fun, more casual, lower stress content with Grim gameplay as the bread and butter, that will give me the time and the inclination to play in the big events that I really should be playing in. I've only ever played one challenge in my entire life on MTGO. Maybe we can change that with a restructuring of the content. So more on all of this later, but yeah, that's the idea in a nutshell. These GGs will share space on the channel with leagues. The degree to which they do is dependent upon your feedback, you the viewer, and especially you, the Patreon supporter. So that's what Grim Gameplay is. If you don't want to get into the details here, you can tab out now. Go check out my Grim Gameplay #1. It's coming out just after I drop this one. But if you want to hang out and vibe with me for a little while longer, hang out, watch this old video. We'll talk in more detail about everything I just went over. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so here is the first and arguably most important point I need to stress. Fun content is good content. I repeat, let's say that one more time. Fun content is good content, and that's not the only metric by which we can measure good content, right? But it is definitely a very important one. I have gone so far recently as to completely scrap an otherwise perfectly serviceable live recorded league that I made simply because I was tilting too much. I was having not enough fun, and that made the content bad. I've been doing this for a while. I could just tell. And the whole idea here in terms of that and in terms of a more broad approach to the game is to make Magic fun again. If I'm having more fun, I'm playing better. If I'm having more fun, I'm spending more free time thinking about the game, coming up with innovations, coming up with exploits in the meta, coming up with new ways to build the mid-range decks, being more motivated to help you with your questions and your concerns and everything else under the sun that you need to survive and thrive in the wild world of Modern. So yeah, Grim Gameplay, it's gonna be fun. I gotta be honest, guys, the leagues are not fun. I'm not alone here. I mentioned that. So many people feeling so demoralized and disheartened lately by trying to play anything besides a few select decks, Uro piles, and the decks that are tech to beat them, basically, in the current metagame. Not everybody's willing to deck jump. Not everybody has the resources to. Not everybody would enjoy the meta even if they could exploit it. I think we've gone over that enough. This is not a theory video about bans and unbans, but you guys understand the point, right? So with Grim Gameplay, again, it is quicker. That's a big deal. I can carve out time maybe sometimes after work, after a long day of work, to play 3 matches for Grim Gameplay. I can't do it for a full league, as I might not have time, period. If I do, it's going to cut into my sleep. I'll struggle to relax after it, no matter what the result is. And that's just not a formula for something that's long-term, sustainable, enjoyable, etc., etc. But with Grim Gameplay, I think it could be. And, like I said, we are not just sticking with that, because I already hear the objections. I hear you out there saying, but Grim, what about my Heckin Leaguerinos? You have to play the leagues. You can't just have fun doing other things. And I'm here to say, yes, I can, and yes, I will. We're gonna have fun, and you're gonna like it. You're gonna have fun with me. I demand, my friend, that you have fun. But Grim, you can't just do something casual. You always have to be grinding leagues. Nope, it's not true. And like I said, we also have every reason to believe that if my bread and butter is more enjoyable, takes me less time, etc., etc., is lower stress, I will have the time and the inclination to play in the big events. I want to play challenges, right? Here's the thing with leagues, guys. They're a great happy medium between, filthy casual just for fun play and their really high stakes events. That's why they're the norm for competitive players to just play a lot of leagues. But leagues do not reach diminishing returns. It is the opposite. Leagues actually exponentially return value to them as long as you're doing decently in them. Because the more you grind leagues in a particular era or a particular metagame, the more experienced you are to beat that exact metagame. You'll see the tiny little things that somebody who doesn't play as often will not see just by running into them firsthand. Also, I'm not down talking 5-0s. I am very excited when I get one, but any player can 5-0 given enough leagues, and any pile that's not viable can also 5-0. That's just the nature of variance. So while it is very cool to get 5-0s, it's also not really indicative of much until you can start really playing enough to pile them up. And therefore, that's just completely unrealistic for me. I will never be a trophy leader. I will never be a grinder. I do not have the time. So instead of playing a league here, a league there, 1 league per week, why don't I play more often with a wider variety of decks, have more fun, learn more about how those decks work firsthand, and then every now and then when my schedule allows, step into the real big time, step into the gladiatorial pits and play in challenges, right? I've only ever played in 1 challenge before on the channel. I was lucky enough to barely get published. Maybe some of you remember that. It was an Oko meta. I played the rock into the Oko meta, which was a very bad idea, but I had to stick by my loyal archetype. I had to stick loyally by my archetype, rather. And, we went 4-1, and then we ran into Oko piles twice in a row, deterministically crushed back down to 4-3, snuck in at the very lowest possible place to still get published, which I believe was 32nd. But it was a fun experience. I want to do it again, but right now, the pressure of playing leagues, to me, and maybe this is just me, but it's like, number 1, I always have a donation league to do, always. And I'm grateful for that, but it's still a factor. And number 2, it's like, okay, if have time to play, I almost feel like I have to play a league. I feel compelled to play a league because it is simply, that's how it works. They don't really publish a high constructed rating. They don't really publish like people who make good plays. They publish you if you get 5-0s, and that is it. So your incentive is to play more and more and more, and that is not something I am able to do. So I hope all of this made sense. I realize I'm going all over the place right now, but those are some of the reasons that I am considering this restructuring of the content. But I do stress that, again, the degree to which Grim gameplay versus League, the ratio between those two types of contents on this channel, that is up to you. So you guys, over time, will let me know, but I do hope you give the new style of content a chance. So yeah, those were a lot of factors I wanted to cover. Some more, the risk of burnout is real, guys. I've been feeling very burned out for a while. I wish to draw your attention to the fate of other beloved. I am presuming here that I am beloved. I hope that is true. Other beloved content creators who I can't help but observe parallels with, and they are no longer making content as far as I can tell. These are people who, like myself, are known mostly for playing one fair interactive archetype and dabbling in other things, but maining that archetype. And this archetype just so happens to be completely crushed by the piles and by the other fire design mistakes. Our old archetypes are victims of new design. I'm thinking specifically of God's Shadow MTG, who is known for Grixis, the Pensword, who is known for Blue Moon, and again, to the best of my knowledge, I don't even really know who's who in content creation. These guys have stopped making content. It's just become no longer fun, no longer tenable for them to do so. I do not wish to suffer the same fate, but I know that if I just keep playing leagues at a rate of 1 per week, it's just not really going to get better, right? We can always hope for a quintuple ban restoring BGX to a format pillar. That's just simply not going to happen, right? So I've gotta work my way around reality here, both in terms of the metagame, of new design trends, and of my schedule. And you know what? at the end of the day, as much as we all love to complain about it, and we all have good cause to do so in many cases, this is still the best game around, right? What else are we going to play? What else are we supposed to do? Maybe it's a little bit of sunk cost fallacy. Whatever. I'm cool with it. We are going to make Modern fun. And again, we are going to stay competitive by giving you rigorous analysis at the end of these Grim gameplay videos by showing a wide variety of gameplay and archetypes firsthand, and hopefully by springboarding off of these into some big events which can generate some hype for all of us. And so I wish to avoid the fate of these beloved content creators. I don't want to become another footnote. I don't want to become another person who was kind of trying to do the same thing for too long until it became no longer viable and then just kind of stopped, right? That's definitely not what anybody wants, I hope. Moving on to other subjects that I wished to raise here. So the other thing, this is kind of related to what I just said, but we'll expand upon it. A little bit of history on the channel, maybe a little bit of deep lore. The OGs will remember some of this. When I started this channel off, I was doing absolutely nothing besides play BG the Rock. Now, a couple things. I think at the time, I would have called myself a rock master. I spent an unholy amount of time thinking about the deck. It's the only deck I played. It was a very well-positioned deck for quite a while after I started the channel, and I didn't do anything else. It was the sole recipient of all of my focus. Now, that I think in some ways my success speaks for itself because as a total nobody, I've managed to create some thriving content. Now, here is the other thing. I have never claimed to be somebody who is especially or exceptionally good at playing everything and anything under the sun. So, like, when people ask me to play a really foreign archetype for a league, I'm happy to try, but maybe it's not as natural for me as it would be for some of you, or as it would be for some pro players, or as it would be for people who just play like all the formats in Magic, right? Who just play more than me overall. In other words, I am not your go-to guy. Yes, I'm going to make your tier 4 brew tick. I'm going to find out why it's not where it needs to be and we're going to fix it. I'm going to be really good at it the first time playing it. That's just not me. So I end up in a spot where I'm either kind of trying to relive the past by being a Rock Master when Rock's not that much of a viable meta deck anymore, at least as a format pillar, still a real deck, still playable, or I'm trying to branch into new archetypes. You know, nobody for Donation League says, like, play a really powerful deck like Tron. They say, play something off meta, which I respect and I appreciate, but am I really the one to take that forward with my limited time? In a league setting, in the current hostile meta, I don't really know. But I'd be very happy to play it in a lower stress setting, like Grim Gameplay. Do you understand how it's all kind of taking shape here and coming together? Now, just to expand a little bit, hey, maybe we're going to brag for a minute. You guys okay if I'm going to brag for a minute? Don't worry, I'm going to talk myself down immediately after it. I'm bragging so I can talk myself down, and also just to provide context. But again, to go back to the deep lore, the early days of the channel, The other reason I don't feel obligated to grind leagues anymore and I'm not as motivated to is because I don't feel I have really anything left to prove, except maybe by getting big placements in some huge events. That I have left to prove. That I have still to prove. But as far as broad credentials go, you know, my first ever live recorded league on the channel, which was uploaded piecemeal, one league at a time, or one match at a time, so you know it was the first ever league. And this was back when competitive leagues were a thing. It was before before competitive and friendly were put together. We 5-0'd. Now, granted, I got pretty lucky. But still, I took that as an omen that my first ever live recorded competitive league on the channel, because I had done plenty of uploading, but it was all replays before that, was a 5-0, and we beat some big guns along the way. I believe we beat Canister in the fifth and final match on Amulet Titan. I think we also beat Charlie along the way, who somebody told me was the reigning champion of the nation of Spain or something like this at the time. I'm not familiar with that person. But anyway, the point is, we've done a lot on this channel. My results are really, really consistently positive. Constructed rating's been over 1,800 multiple times, including a month ago. And I've been published several times, not as often as I'd like to, but you can't really control that. Now, apologies if that was braggadocious. Again, I say that to provide context and also because I'm going to now question my own abilities in some ways. I already just got done telling you guys that I'm not like the best go-to guy for like picking up a brand new deck and immediately grokking it. You know, I need to put in my hours. My strengths are more at like min-maxing an established archetype, being really careful in my play, reading and making meta calls in an established meta, and none of that, guys, none of that is relevant anymore. I'm sorry to say, at least not with Rock. Like, you can make all the tiny tweaks you want to Rock, but at the end of the day, it is still hugely swingy when you're against the piles and when you're against other common format decks. And otherwise, you know, it's like, okay, where do we go from here with that in mind? The other thing I would dare assert is I don't even know if I'm a Rock Master anymore like I used to be. I genuinely don't know. I don't feel as confident in my play as I used to be because the meta's a lot more hostile, it changes a lot more quickly, and so even if I played as much, I wouldn't feel as confident, but I'm not playing as much, I'm playing less. So it all compounds in various ways, making me think that I'm not even necessarily a Rock Master anymore. I think I'm still a good Rock player, but that's about as far as I would lay my claim. Now, the other thing that Grim Gameplay helps is, again, knowing the meta more closely, knowing the meta more thoroughly simply by playing decks firsthand, and by seeing a wide variety of decks instead of like queuing into a league and playing yet again 4 out of 5 times either big mana or piles, right? You know, you're going to see a little bit of wider variety of gameplay. If I am dipping into the 1v1 queue, for example, or even the tournament practice lobby, to get Grim Gameplay match content. And that's not to say that we're looking to play against jank and win all the time. I won't use matches if they're not good content. You guys know this. Like, if the opponent is really slow playing, they're really new, they're punting left, right, and center, they're playing something totally unplayable, we're not going to use that. But I hope you'll forgive me for providing context and some of my credentials here. But the point is, number one, I don't feel I have so much left to prove besides maybe taking down a big event if I get so fortunate in the future to even have time to play them, much less succeed in them. Number two, I don't think that being a Rock Master is necessarily something that is demanded in the market anymore. And number three, I don't even necessarily think I'm a Rock Master these days. Again, still a good Rock player, still know my way around the deck, still can make a lot of meta calls, but before, my feelings are very different. Before, I was like, okay, I'm on top of this. When I'm at the helm with Rock, when I'm looking at the metagame, I know where I want to make my little tweaks. Now it's just like, I'm just as happy to listen to my patrons as they are to listen to me. They might be playing more than I am, and, you know, I'm willing to take their ideas on board, even if I'm not certain about them, because I'm like, well, you know, these days, frankly, I'm probably missing something. So with all that in mind, we are definitely looking for a bit of a revamp here, and I hope it will be just as exciting for you as I hope it will be for me. Alright, guys, so the last thing I'll say here is I'm not actually sure how to integrate Patreon into the Grim Gameplay videos. I'm not going to say that the current Patreon threshold of $75 for a true donation league, that you have to reach that to make like a suggestion for Grim Gameplay. I am very open to ideas here. You guys know where to hit me up with those. I think maybe I want to make that more informal, more freewheeling. I want to basically like kind of do what I want to do in terms of like bringing you gameplay, and then also have my proverbial suggestion box always open. Like, are you a Patreon supporter? Are you like getting near a donation league? just tell me what you want to see. You know what I mean? It's also hard for me logistically to keep track of who actually has a donation league, who doesn't. That's a ton of work every week. Again, I'm very grateful to have that as something that I need to care about. But I almost feel like it'd be better right now to say, okay, just you're a supporter. I'll try to help you out. Tell me what you want to see. Just tell me what you want. We'll see if we can make it happen. And right now, that is not realistic because the obligations to play leagues take absolutely everything out of me. Time, motivation, everything. But if I'm doing something more low stress, quicker, like the Grim gameplay stuff, everybody can have their time under the sun. And if you're a generous supporter at a high tier, you can see multiple decks in a relatively short amount of time. It'll be using my own judgment, it'll be using my own discretion, it'll be being fair to everybody based on how much they support the content and how much I've already done for them in the recent past, and also in terms, frankly, of what I want to do. But I envision a world in which we're just having a ton of fun, myself as the pilot and the creator, you as the viewer, as the supporter, as the community, and I'm bringing you the content that is useful for you and that you want to see, and I'm actually having fun again doing it. So that about wraps it up, guys. I realize this was totally rambling here. I warned you, I guess, maybe that it would be. I did have some notes I referred to, but at the same time, we are all over the place. I hope you are excited for this new chapter on the channel. And again, I stress that this does not mean we're not playing leagues anymore. In fact, I'll be playing a Valky Jund donation league as soon as the cards, as 3 copies of Valky are available to me once they come out, right? Oh my god, look at this hand I'm inquisitioning in this old league. Double Veil of Summer. Anyway, so the leagues are definitely still going to happen. It's not like I'm turning on a dime and saying, nope, the door is shut, we are never playing leagues again. But what I am saying is I want to make this content something I can do for you forever. I want to strike the perfect balance of sustainability, edification, entertainment, low stress levels, and expertise, right? We got to have that expertise. We've got to have the ability to still do close analysis, to still play in big events when my schedule allows. I hope this is the path forward, but you guys know me. I am always listening to feedback. I am always willing to change things up. So you let me know. You watch this video if you've gotten this far. I hope you have a really good idea of what my intentions are. Watch the first Grim gameplay video, and I urge you to give the content a chance. Stick with it, see a wide variety of things that I'll bring to the table, and just sit with it. Don't get caught up in this mentality of if it's not a league, for example, it's not real gameplay. Again, I know that it's not a one-to-one correlation. I do, however, think that this is what I want to do. I've conferred with a couple good friends about this. They're pretty hyped about the idea. Let me know if you are too. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, my friends, so much for giving me any kind of a platform at all, for sticking with me through all of the various iterations of this content. I unironically hope to be doing this in 10 years, and we are always going to have to keep our thinking caps on to figure out how that's possible. This is just the latest step along our journey. So remember, fun content is good content. That's what we're aiming for at the end of the day, and I will see you for the first Grim gameplay video coming up very soon.